Hello, welcome back to the channel. And today we have...
Roselle Angelica.
And what did you do?
I got second place at the EUWCQ this weekend.
And how did that felt to come in second place at the most prestigious EU tournament?
I mean, it was insane. Like, I've had a couple tops before, but they were like no deep runs, and it was crazy for my first deep run to be like not only worlds but like finals of the EUWCQ. It was an incredible feeling.
Yeah, everyone in Norway was rooting for you, and finally we got someone from Norway at Worlds. So, before we start, any shoutouts? Any quick shoutouts?
Huge shoutouts to Jon and Max for lending me all the VS cards and the National package. Like, I would not have been able to play this deck without them. And also huge shoutouts to Christian, Philip, like all the guys for testing with me and for traveling with me.
Yeah. So, before we go to the deck, so this is just an in-depth profile, so we're gonna go really quick. If you wanna look at the deck profile that she posted, you can go to her channel. There will be a link in the description at the blue YGO. And then also remember to subscribe to this channel and also subscribe to her channel. Alright, let's go.
Okay, so I'll just be going through the deck real quick. As said, if you want to see the deck profile with more like a short explanation of the cards in the deck, check out my channel. So for the VS ratios, I played 3 Razan, 3 Mad Love, 3 Holisu, 3 Jalung, 2 Borger, 1 Caesar. We'll of course get back to the ratios and the knowledge and everything and explain that more in depth. We're just showing it off so right now, so that when I say later, it makes sense. For the non-engine, I played the 6 good terms, the Rescue package, Ash Blossom, and 4 Bastiles, Managers 2 Baldrake. That's all the monsters. If I recall correctly, it's 32 monsters. Then for the spell traps, Rota, Prosperity, 1 Extravagance, 3 Stake Your Soul, the Field Spell, and the Trap. For the extra deck, I played 3 Rock with the Vanquisher, 1 Vanquish Soul Rocks, Dark Charm of Gloomy, Heated Fire Charmer of Blaze, Donner Dagger for Hire, SP Little Knight, Underworld Goddess, Nash Knight, Chaos Disease Nash Knight, Masquerade, Umbral Horror Masquerade. Unfortunately, I had to give that card back. It's insanely expensive for a super. And then Zeus and Typhoon. For the side deck, I played 3 Doran Lockbird, 3 Artifact Lancia, 3 Fantastical Dragon Phantasme, 3 Nadir the Primal Being, and the 3 stupid limited cards.
So before we go into more depth about the ratios and the logic and the theories, I want to ask you, what was the reason for actually picking this deck, and how did it feel to actually play this deck and actually topping with this deck?
So originally when I started testing this format, like coming out of Nationals format, I was not very invested. I really disliked the play patterns of both Malice and Raizel Mitsurugi. The deck I played for Nats was a Twin Fiendsmith Bestial, but that deck is just not playable anymore because it has a 2-poor matchup into this deck, funny enough. But this was the only deck I actually found enjoyable. So I put some time into it, originally just as like a fun concept, and found out that it was actually really good. This deck has a really, really good matchup into any Mitsurugi deck that does not play Futsu or that does not properly utilize Futsu. If you go first and set up like the trap, you basically just win the match, or the game, but might as well be. And if you go second, you still have very decent chances. I would say your Malice matchup is at worst 50-50, at best 55-45. Because you get to play all the cards that like say draw, so you get to draw into Lancia more often, and also Holisu just completely wrecks that deck. And so basically it was just the deck I found the most enjoyable, and it felt like it matched up well into the field. The only caveat about this deck is like it has some slight consistency problems, and if you find yourself in a situation where Holisu is not enough to stop your opponent going second, you're probably gonna lose. But overall, I had a much more enjoyable time playing this deck than anything else. And I mean, it overperformed for me. So
yeah, that is excellent. Alright, so now we can go more in depth about the ratios and the logic and the theories.
Okay,
so we can start with the main deck part.
Yep, I'll just start off with the main deck. I only played the 2 mandatory Vanquish spell and traps. Some people play 2 field spell, some people play the continue, some people play the Dust Devil. The only other things I've been interested, like the Dust Devil was never on my mind. I did look at continue for a little bit to have like a spell that does something into detonator, but it doesn't really do anything into detonator, because like if they pop the Mad Love, you search the continue, like what does the continue actually do? Like you have to deal with the detonator to play anyways, so that card was off my list really quickly. The second start was, like, I thought about it because it's really like, basically the Mitsurugi matchup and the mirror are really centered on this card. Like, removing this card is kind of key. So if you have a second one, you can really punish them. But I just found that it was super bricky and it didn't fit in the side deck. So there wasn't enough motivation to play it. But you definitively need both of these. You can side this out going second in a decent amount of matchups. The only matchup, like, you had to keep this is, I would say, the mirror. It's the only matchup where you have to keep it, but I like keeping it in like most slower matchups where like you can kind of halfway play through the board and like search it as a way to keep playing on their turn. For the other spells, there's not much to say about 3 Stake Your Soul. This card is just good consistency. It is your best and worst starter at the same time. It's like the best starter to pair, but the worst starter to draw alone. Because if this gets stopped, you have nothing. If any of your other starters get stopped, you can like add it back with Lock. And I did lose a couple of games to having like this get like ashed or impulse or something, whereas if it was another starter, it wouldn't, like, that wouldn't really matter. But it's also the best starter in the fact that it gets you a body that you wouldn't be getting otherwise. It just gets you a body for free, kind of, like that your engine wouldn't produce. For the 3 other spells, Rhoda is just the forced reason and mandatory for this deck. I like Prosperity because this deck's problems are with consistency, not with card power. Like, yes, drawing 2 cards and drawing potential attributes is nice, but I would rather find Holisu than draw 2 random cards most of the time. And then I played 1 Extravagance. So this looks really weird on first sight, but firstly it makes sense with my side patterns, and second, I was originally playing 4 pots, but that was way too much. Like, you keep drawing pots off of pots, or you keep drawing off Heavy Borger. And I originally found 2 pots to be it's either 2 or 3 pots. To me, 2 pots was like kind of the perfect number, but you can very well play 3. So therefore it's 1 and 1. And also when it's only 1 Extravagance, it's like, this deck doesn't care about its extra deck enough to where you have to play Extravagance extra deck for the 1 copy. So as long as you play 3 rock, it's like, it's okay. So it also made my extra deck, like, it didn't feel as bad to keep it open. But it's mainly, it fits for side patterns, and I did not want more than 2 pots. For the Vanquish engine ratios, like, a lot of, like, these are you have to play these. Like, this card, because she is your GOAT, she's the best card in the game right now, in my opinion. Like, she just does so much. She's a starter, she's a hand trap, she's an extender, she's everything. And Rasna is like your best normal summon and way to get to pieces. And I kind of hate normally Mad Love because it loses to like literally everything. Because like if you have normal Rasna and it gets like Asher Imperm, at least you can rock to add it back and it's an interruption and it gets you the piece on their turn instead. This doesn't do that. This gets you the card that gets you the piece on their turn and it's an interruption with the wrong attributes. But you need the consistency. Your deck is really bricky, so like there's not really much to debate here. For the rest of the Vanquish monsters, I play 1 Caesar. I think 1 Caesar is the norm. I had some people chat to me about 2 Caesar. I think they're crazy. Drawing like the bouncers isn't that great. They help in some situations, but they're also the brickiest cards in your deck. So I wanted to play the least I could of them. You need 2 border. You cannot play 1. Like with the K9 cards coming out in just centers, you can maybe get away with 1, but even then, I would say you need 2. I have definitively had uncomfortable situations this tournament because I didn't play the 3rd. So, like, the 3rd one does come up and it's very real. But if you know manage your resources well, 2 is fine. And as I said, I really hate drawing these cards because they, like, clunk your hands and are only good in, like, specific situations. For the last Vanquish monster, I played 3 Jiaolong. Jiaolong is, like, it kind of has the same problem as these guys, where if you can't play, it doesn't help. But unlike these guys, this is at least an extender. Like, if you have, like, Arvasan, this doesn't progress your game state, this can. And this card feels like one of the best ways for this deck to lock down games. Because when you start, like, when you have this on board and you can search every turn, it just feels like they can't remove your pieces anymore. They have no way to actually deal with what you're doing. You will outperform them in advantage, you will outperform them in grind. So I wanted 3 Jiaolong, and also I wanted a high fire count to be able to resolve my Jiaolong as much as possible. For the non-engine, my deck is basically just Holly Sue Turbo. If Holly Sue does not stop my opponent, then my deck does not stop my opponent like 90% of the time. And the non-engine I play is very catered towards that. I basically just play the good non-engine in my deck are the draw cards. The remaining non-engine are here because they're attributes, mainly. These guys are basically just yes because they're fires. Like, there is no good fire non-engine. It's either these guys or Kurikara or Dogoron, or you're on to like the really bottom of the barrel kind of cards. I wanted these because they kind of fit with the idea of like the Charmies, and because I wanted to resolve as many Jialongs as possible, and I do not regret playing them because I had fires for Jialong, which is really like that was really important for me this weekend. Like, it really helped having this card live a lot. I think I won a lot of more games on having this in hand than I would have of a real card, like an Imperm or a Duel or something. But these cards, if you rate them as cards and not just as attributes for Jialong, they were terrible. Like, absolutely terrible. I think I have summoned this 3 times, resolved the effect to draw twice, and I have drawn either 3 or 4 Charmies with it. The non-ironically best things these cards were doing, apart from being revealed for Roselle and Jialong and Holisu, was in my top 8 feature match. I normal summoned this to force my opponent's Caesar. So the cards themselves were terrible, but I very much did not regret playing them because they were fires. The logic with the Mulcharmies is, firstly, they draw you Holisu. Like, Mulcharmies in this deck are much more impressive than in any other deck, because the payoff for drawing cards on your opponent's turn is so immense with Holisu. So your opponent kind of can't afford to give you draws. If they do, they will just lose. And also, this deck can't play too much non-attribute non-engine, in my opinion. So I basically came out, you could have 6 or 7. And I wanted the best counters to Raizo Mitsu. I was expecting that to be the most popular deck. And these cards are, like, there's 9 counters to Raizo Mitsu. It's these 6 in Drool. And these cards synergize with your engine, Drool doesn't. These cards are also better at covering matchups. Like, I would way rather have a Purulia or a Fuwa than a Drool against, like, Malice. The deck is also, as I said before, a bit bricky. And while these cards usually suck going first, they are, if I'm bricking going first with non-engine in my hand, I would way rather brick with Charmies than with anything else. The rest of the non-engine is 3 Ash and 4 Bastilles. Ash is a mainstay in this deck. It's a fire, and it's like actually a good card, unlike these guys. So it's kind of non-debatable. Though this deck uses it a bit different with other decks. Like, this is not cross-out designator. I think I ashed a Charmy once, and that was game 1 of the finals, because my hand was like crack cocaine and I could summon her hand like 4 times. But usually, you only, like, if you get like Perulian, you just summon Holisu and then summon from deck and they draw 1, and it's like, you don't want to ash an Upstart Goblin, you'd rather keep your fire and your real interruption. For the Bastilles, I was expecting, as I said, Mitsubishi to be the most popular deck, and these are both darks, and they match up really well into Mitsurugi, because the way this deck plays into boards, like, you don't have to like crow the ritual spell, you don't have to stop them on turn 1, you just like Bastille when they use their Murakumo, they cross negate it, you take a material off, and then you keep the dark, and then you have the Bastille again from the Murakumo next turn. These are also, like, I kind of hated DD Crow, because DD Crow is like really inflexible in how you use it. Like, if you crow, you can't chain an effect to it, but with these you can. Like, if I go like Baldrake, target, Kusanagi, whatever, I can still chain Borger to draw. I can chain Suda Special. It's still a dark for the rest of the chain, which is really important. It makes it much easier to like plan out turns. Though I do think in what these cards actually ended up being, these should just have been the Bureaus. For more Charmy payoff and to make games unwinnable for my opponent going first. But I'm still happy with the choice. I think with what I was expecting for the events, they were the right choice. There isn't that much to say about the extra deck. Zeus and Typhon are obviously here, they're really good. I wanted the Nash Knight package because I wanted to have the threat of the Nash Knight package, because this thing applies a lot of pressure. And since I only play 1 Extravagance, it still makes sense to play this because the amount of games where you have to break it up are not that many. I think I made this twice. The once was to check MTP, because like they have the MTP and like the link. So if they used MTP, I could chain eat the link. But of course, we got in the games that were like they never used the MTP, so I never got to rank it up. And the other time I made it, it just got nippy rude. So the cards themselves were not that good, but I'm happy I played them to have the threat, and also they're pretty sound in theory. Probably the most sus card of my extra deck is Goddess. basically I found that your deck produces a lot of bodies turn 0, and you have very little to do with them usually. So this is a very real way to break boards when you start your turn with 3 bodies. Like, you go into a Charmer, take something from their graveyard, and then you just make this, take away the most important thing they have, and then it's kind of the Dark Ruler no more. I think I only made it once or twice, and I made it in not like the situations I was expecting. I think I used it once to out a Detonator, and the other time to out a Caesar, which I was not expecting to use it for the mirror, that's for sure. But I'm happy I played it, and also it gives you a somewhat sound contingency plan against Lunalight that isn't just stall them out with Burger Burn. And I think like the only other card I was kind of considering over this was the second Typhoon, which never would have come up. SP is here just as like it's a good card, and with the new Vanquish Soul Rocks, you can convert rock into like a real body. So this is one of your better ways to remove like specific cards. I think I made this 0 times throughout the tournament though, it never came up for me. But like, the deck should have been with play. Even with Cannon cards, this card's really good. The honor is here for one purpose and one purpose only. Fuck Baguska. We hate Baguska. Baguska makes your deck not work. So she's the best way of turning 2 monsters into a Baguska out. Don't play servers, your opponent will put the Baguska in DMZ and you will be sad. Then the rocks. I also think if you play Extravagance, like, if you're really scared, you can play 2 of this guy because he is good. Though I don't think I made him before the finals, honestly. The matchups he comes up the most in are like the slow ones, or where you can like punch an easy and then make Zeus with the rock. And then 3 rock. I think I would play 3 rock even without Extravagance, or I don't think I know I would. Because like you never really make anything here. Of course, I think I made every card in here apart from the remaining parts of the Nash Knight package at least once or twice. But the 3rd rock did not come up this event. But in testing the 3rd rock, like even without banishing any rocks of Extravagance, the 3rd rock came up a couple games. So I would play it even without Extravagance. As for the side deck, for like the 3 idiot cards, these 2 were good. I drew this twice, and I think it won me both games that I drew it, but the theory behind this was not sound. This was basically just here as a way to make my opponent's Roselle decks weaker. Because going first, when I go first, the only real way they win the game is if their hand is either a lot of non-engine, which the deck doesn't play typically, or like cracked engine, and they go X and Valon to out the trap, because that way they can actually like they progress, at least like with their own engine. They can't remove my bodies, but this card kind of prevents that. It takes away the extra Roselle, it takes away all the going in from Mitsurugi engine. But I shouldn't. I mean, it's fine to play for Rogue, but this deck is already pretty good against Rogue. And this card sucks against Malice. It's not good enough against Roselle Mitsu. You have too many punishes. And you obviously don't want it like in the mirror. So this should have been something else. I'm not entirely sure what. It could have been like another pot. It could have been another matchup card. But I don't think it should have been Shifter. This fits because I have like... with the patterns, I was always wanting one more card going first in certain matchups. And this is just the most generic one. Just let your cards resolve. This is basically just here for Malice, but it's so broken against Malice that I think the spot is worth it. I only drew it once, but it did win me that game, so it worked out. Nibiru and Droll are here as like... I kind of hate Solemns. I don't like those cards. I would rather have cards you can draw off of Borger as like going first cards, and these also double up as like matchup cards. This I bring in against Malice and like combo decks, and this is obviously here for Mitsurugi. Personally, I see people main decking Droll and like praising Droll, and like I don't like this card. I really don't. I think it feels really weird to give up the card to slow your opponent down in any matchup that like isn't Mitsurugi Roselle, because that deck is busted and stupid. But like I don't like this against pure Mitsurugi. I don't like this against Fiendsmith Mitsurugi. I don't like it against the mirror, even though with patterns I do bring in going first against the mirror. And I bring in 1 going second, which very funny was the one I happened to draw on stream. But I really don't like this card because it feels like this deck wants to gain resources, not lose them, and this is a net negative card against anything that isn't Rise Up Mitsurugi. The last 6 cards are basically there's Malice Hates. This comes in against a lot of stuff, like it comes in against the mirror, it comes in against basically anything that Link summons. You can't main deck it because Roselle's in the format. But like this card also really backs up like the Holisu playstyle, so like against Malice you end up basically... I think there's like a 75% chance or something with the draw cards, provided the draw cards don't get ashed, that you get to alive a Holisu. And then on top of that you have a chance of seeing Lancia. If I were to explain all the patterns, it would take forever, but basically the side deck is built on a 5-1 pattern theme where like you take out the charmies and like you flip engine cards. I don't think there's too much else to add about the ratios or the math. Like the deck is, it's not a deck you math really. You just max out all your starters and you found how many pots or how many extra contingency cards you're comfortable with. And for me that was 2.
You want to talk about some of your matchups. So we know that in Swiss, you played against 4 Malice, 6 Roselle Mitsurugis, and then you also played against 1 on the mat Roselle, and also 1 in the 12th round you played against 1 Vanquish. So in the entire Swiss, you only played against 1 Vanquish. Can you tell more about like your matchups and just what you learned about them and learn about the deck through playing against those matchups?
Yep. So as I said before, this deck's best matchup, in my opinion, is Mitsurugi decks. Not Roselle Mitsurugi in particular, just Mitsurugi decks in general, because the way you play when you go first, like the trap just makes it impossible for them to make progress. They cannot remove your bodies. It's just not possible because of like the protection. So you just force them to not really do anything. And their deck is not grindy enough to keep up with you when you start resolving Jalons. So that's my best matchup. My 2 losses in Swiss were round 8 to Roselle Mitsurugi and round 12 to the mirror match. But they're both kind of like calling them losses to a deck is kind of weird. Because the round 8 loss, I won the die roll and bricked, and my opponent opened way more than enough to play through my Fuba Ash. The Ash did Fuba and the Ash did nothing. And in the round 12, I was already qualified for Top Cut on an X1 record, and the mirror was the matchup I was the least confident in going into the event. It was the one I practiced the least. And I also, I lost the die roll, they made Paradise Smasher into a Charmy. I didn't draw a Holisu, which is kind of unlikely because they gave me like 4 draws, and I just didn't have the brain cells to properly grind that out, and then I lost the game 3. But both of the round 12 was probably winnable, and the other one is like I bricked the game 1, and then my only play got solid 1 in game 3. It's like there isn't that much to take away. Apart from that, I think I lost the die rolls for Swiss were like I'm pretty sure I won 4 and lost 8, and 2 of the 4 I won, I bricked game 1. So the deck really like, it's good at going second. I think I lost the die roll to all the Malice players, and like you have 3 games to catch them with either Lancia or resolving Holisu. So you're pretty likely to get one. And when you go first, it's really hard for them to win.
Could you also tell us about like your the top cuts from top 64 and what you played against? Because we only got to see the top 8 and top 4 and also the top 2, but we didn't get to see from the top 64 until top 16.
My top 64 match was a mirror match against another Vanquish player. It was a pretty boring match, I'll be honest, because it was just like 3 games where none of us opened any of the crazy stuff. It was just like, I win, I die roll, I go first, I make board, he can't break it. He go first, I draw the 1 draw him, he gets to the trap, draws me back, I can't break it. And then game 3, I go first with Nibiru in hand, and he can't break it. Like, there was no Holy Zeus, there were no playing on each other's turns. It was a very boring match, I'll be honest. Top 32 was a nail biter. I lost the die roll and opened terrible against Roselle Mitsurugi, so I just scoop when they go for the Ouroboros combo. I win the game 2 because that deck just cannot beat me if I get to set up anything at all when I go first. And then the game 3, I have Shifter plus Ash as my non-engine, and I Shifter them, he goes normal ice, I Ash the ice on a prayer because my hand is super weak, and he passes turn. If he had 1 more play, I would lose there, but we made it out. My top 16 was another mirror, and lose the die roll, charm me the guy, he gives me 3 draws and makes Paradise Smasher again. This time my hand isn't as good. I tried to grind it out behind like a Typhoon, which is the way I would usually play that, and it is surprisingly winnable if you have a Holy Sue somewhere. Like, both times I top decked Holy Sue after getting Paradise Smashered, which, while it makes the game winnable, feels terrible. It's like if I saw her one draw earlier, I just win the game. But I don't remember if he hard drew Ash or if he top decked Ash, but he Ashes my Holy Sue on his turn and just after like 15 minutes find a way for game. And then I win the game 2. I think he has Holy Sue on my turn, but I have enough gas to deal with it. And then the game 3 was really long and grindy, and I'm pretty sure it was like a 3-roll game again. But I ended up taking it. Then top 8, it's another mirror match. I win the die roll. We have an interactive game 1, but I'm pretty sure I win it on like Burger Burn over time, because I get to Burger Burn 1 turn earlier by going first, basically. And then game 2, he fucks up turn 3 by not getting to the field spell, and thereby giving me a chance to deal with his trap without giving up too much resources. So I take that match 2-0. And then in top 4, I played Roselle Mitsurugi. It was in stream. My hand was insane going first. I just did my combo. He drew his card, he scooped, and then he game 2 sets 2 cards and pass. I get super overconfident and play the game terribly, but it was basically an unlosable game. Like, no matter what he draws, even if it's extra ideal, it doesn't matter. He's not winning that game. And then obviously in finals, I played against Lorenzo Roselle on the mirror match. The game 1, I win the die roll. I get to go first. I get to do my thing. I take that pretty convincingly. The game 2, after watching it back 2 or 3 times, I think it was possibly winnable. I made a couple of small mistakes that, while they wouldn't win the game immediately if corrected, they would make the game playable for me. But I lose the game 2, and then game 3 he opens pick your 5 against my... Like, my hand wasn't bad, but it really needed to hit Holy Sue of Prosperity to have a chance against his hand, and it just didn't.
But yeah, it was an excellent run, and we were really happy to see that you made it as a finalist. But the most important part is that she is now is a contender at Worlds. So for the final topic that I want to talk about is just the future changes for this deck. Now that we have Justice Hunters out, and the K9 is probably going to be the way to play the deck. What are your thoughts about like the changes for the Vanquish roles, and how would you personally play it?
Yeah, so I haven't dived fully deep into the Worlds testing yet, just scratched the surface. But on the surface, the K9 VS mirror seems a lot less praiseworthy than people have been giving it credit for. It feels like the old VS mirror, just that when you would reach the point where both players are kind of out of gas, you're forced to wait for the next turn. One player just goes K9 combo and wins the game. And that takes away the dynamic that I loved about that mirror match, which I'm not a big fan of. Though, of course, the K9 cards are very strong. They make the deck a lot better in a lot of ways. Though I do think they are a little clunky, and they do remove a lot of non-engine space. But what I would probably do, like, for now, because you get about 9 non-engine issues, you want to play the full K9 package, which, I mean, I think is the optimal thing to do. It feels like that deck is so strong going first if it draws a real hand that your only real non-engine is Charmies. And then you have 2 to 3 you can kind of pick and choose whether you want like Ash for the attribute or called by talent to deal with Charmies of your opponents, or like those kind of cards. That's probably where I would approach it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the profile, and I hope you have a really good luck at Worlds, and hopefully we're gonna be able to see, hopefully that she's gonna win. All of Norway is gonna root for you, and yeah, what do you think about this card?
This card, I hate this card. I really don't like it. I think it deserves for this to happen.